and weighing 240 pounds, LA Knight. A lot of people claim to be undeniable. A lot of people claim to be inevitable. I live it. And what that means is tonight, you can be the next to get dropped on your head, courtesy of the megastar, with everybody saying, yeah.
Sir, how are you?
Good, man. How you doing?
Good. Won't take too much of your time. I just got a few questions for you.
No worries. I got a few answers for you.
All right. So you got the Miz Saturday night at Payback. What do you think of his promo on you Monday night?
It was cute. It's real cute. Look, it's funny because I think I was on Raw the week before, and I'd pointed out what Michael Cole said on SmackDown the week before. If you can just walk with me here, I'm taking you a long way, but Michael Cole on SmackDown had said that the Miz is jealous, and on Monday I followed up by saying, yeah, he's jealous because the one thing he always wanted to be is me. And I don't mean he knew of LA Knight, but what I mean is he's wanted the success that I've come across in the last 5-6 months, and he never got it. He's never walked out. Actually, I tell you what, Monday night was probably the loudest reaction he's ever gotten in a positive fashion when he walked out. So he probably enjoyed that. So yeah, it was cool. It was great, but it also went to exactly what I said. And here he was getting to be me for a night. So hope you enjoyed it.
It's been a crazy run for you the last 6 to 8 months. What's it been like to be on this ride?
A lot of vindication, because there's been a lot of time of me not being on this ride and being very far away from this ride and on the outside looking in and kind of just thinking, man, what's the deal? What's the holdup? Like I always knew that I should be in here doing this, and at least, if not on this ride, damn close to it. So all I knew was that once I got that little window of opportunity to squeeze myself into the fold, I need to make a whole lot of noise, and that's what I've done.
What do you think it is about the LA Knight character that has resonated with the fans so much?
I don't know exactly. Personally, I feel like if I was just to take a stab at it, my feeling about wrestling in the last, I'm going to say 7 years or so has been, it's gotten a little, wrestling's always had a little goofiness to it, but it's gotten a little too goofy, and there's been a little bit too much of tongue-in-cheek, wink wink kind of stuff, as opposed to like a guy who's just going to come in, talk some trash and fight. Now, I mean, I guess you could say you had that with like a Brock Lesnar or maybe a Roman Reigns or guys at the top, but I would say moreover, down underneath that and across the business, even outside of WWE, it's just been a lot of goofiness and silliness. And I think so. Now, look, I say plenty of stuff that probably makes people laugh and probably makes people chuckle, but at the same time, I turn a corner and I get to a point. I'm not out here doing silly stuff. I'm not out here. It's not a joke. I can make a joke, but it's going to get real serious real quick after that. I think that if I'm the guest, that's the thing that I think resonates.
You've been around in the business a long time. Has there ever been a time when you were just at the point where you're like, maybe I should go do something else?
There was never a point where, well, I think that every day. But there was never a point where I seriously thought like I should go do something else.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a point where I thought I'm gonna have to go do something else. And for the first 10 years, going through my 20s, I was broke as hell trying to get the whole thing done. And working serving jobs or other odd side jobs and stuff just to kind of get myself by to kind of make this work. But at that point in time, I'm in my 20s, so at that point I'm never thinking any of that. I'm just thinking I got to keep pushing forward, even though I had other people in my ear, family, friends, girlfriends, whatever. You just what if you just made it a hobby and then you just you did this? No, that's not for me. But then once I hit 30, things just started to pick up for me. That's when I finally started getting paid to be a wrestler. Right. I went to NXT for the first time. Then I was in Impact. Then NWA, and I was getting paid pretty well at all those places. to the point where, okay, things are working, things are clicking, but I still needed to get bigger. I still need to get on a larger level. Now I had opportunities to come back to WWE starting back in 2016, but the pay would have been a cut from what I was making, and I had never made the kind of money that Impact was paying me at the time. So I was like, well, let me at least make this for a couple more years, and then we'll entertain the idea. But by that point in time, you're looking at a 36, 37-year-old guy, and some people look at that number and that's a little scary, but you have to look at me and realize that I don't have a lot of I don't have a big injury history. I don't have a big surgery history, knock on glass or whatever this is here. So with that in mind, I'm really, even though the number says 40, in a lot of ways in this business, I'm operating more on like a 30-year-old's body, if that makes sense.
Sure, absolutely.
But the optics of that are not good. So, you know, when I'm 38 and the pandemic's happening and I'm thinking, all right, it's over. Now I got to figure out what's the next step? Like, what's the next thing that I do? Because at this point, like, you know, the world's falling apart. They're not going to bring me in, especially with my age here. And I kind of just took that mindset and said, well, if that's the thought, then screw it. Just make one more overture and see what the temperature is. I did that, got that little window of opportunity, and I pushed the hell on, and here we are. And it's crazy that I even made that move or thought that was I didn't think it was a possibility. I didn't think it was going to happen, but it did, and I'm glad it did.
I've seen interviews where you talk about evolving. How important is that to a wrestler to continue to evolve throughout their career and not be stagnant or satisfied where they're at?
I think it's very important because you not only not being stagnant, but you can't kind of rest on your laurels, because I think a lot of people get the idea of, man, I've worked years and maybe even decades to get here, and now I'm here. I can relax. No, now the real work really begins. Like, all those years and everything was just staying ready, getting ready, being ready to be here. Now it's like, okay, well, now I actually have to like perform on a whole other level. And so there are certain little evolutions that need to be made. Now, I wouldn't want to make a complete deviation from the things I've been doing, especially because now I'm on the biggest stage I've been on. The most eyes that have ever seen me are seeing me right now. So whatever I was doing that worked on those smaller stages, you can bet your keister I'm going to bring them here and do the same thing. Now, at some point, eventually, is that going to have to, you know, mold and change a little bit? Yeah, because you got to stay fresh. But at the same time, for now, it's working, and you just do little wrinkles at a time, little bits where it's like, all right, well, let me add this here. So that way it's not like, well, wait, this is completely different. That way it happens under everybody's nose and nobody's any the wiser.
I was at Ford Field for SummerSlam shooting the show, and I was getting text messages from my friends back here in St. Louis, and they were like, did you hear that pop when you came out that night? What was it like to have that many people just going crazy for you when you came through the curtain?
I'm gonna sound like a jerk when I say this, but I've kind of become in a strange way used to it in a weird, but not. Like it, if it didn't happen, I'd be like, oh, all right, fell off, something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's something that I don't necessarily expect. Man, my brain's doing backflips right now trying to figure out how to word this, but basically it's a crazy feeling, but at the same time I have to zone it out because I'm about to go in there and do business, and I can't get caught up in that. Sure. Because if I get caught up in that, then I'll probably be distracted from everything I got to do in the ring. So it's almost like, all right, stay focused. What's happening in there? Cool. If I want to go watch it back and hear it, okay, great. So I think aside from the first few times that it happened, at this point now, I almost kind of it's become just part of the background in a weird way, if that makes sense.
Is a championship necessary for this to be, I guess, to go full circle for you? Do you have to have a title run, do you think?
It's necessary for me. People might have different philosophies of whether it's necessary for, you know, you to be popular and this stuff. And And no, I think maybe it's not necessary to be popular or whatever, but for me, to be where I want to be and to do what I want to do, I think it's very necessary, because you can't be in those conversations as far as, who's the best now, or maybe even possibly of all time, or this, that, whatever, unless you've held those titles. So is it necessary from, I don't know, maybe a popularity standpoint? Maybe not. But is it necessary for me and what I want to accomplish? Yeah.
There's been a lot of, and I know you're not a big social media guy necessarily, but I'm always reading, criticisms here and there. How do you deal with that if you even hear about it, and do you just kind of let it roll off your shoulders?
That's really all you can do. And that's part of the reason why I'm not a big social media guy, because I don't need that aggravation in my life. For me, it's like, I'm going to put out whatever content I put out, let it do its thing. I don't really get into the doom scrolling on Instagram or Twitter. I mean, look, I'm saying that, and I'm sure there are exceptions, and there's probably occasional times where I'm just bored out of my mind and I'm just going through, but I would say 9 times out of 10, I'm not doing that stuff. And I don't get caught up in Twitter drama or any of that stuff. I know some people live on that stuff, and I don't get it, but more power to you. But for me, it's just kind of, if I don't get paid on social media,
Right.
I get paid for being on TV. So if you want to see what I'm going to do, then you need to tune in to TV. I'll give you a little sampling of why you should watch TV. And that's what I do with my social media. That's how I use that to be like, hey, look, this is what you missed, or hey, this is what you're going to see. So make sure you check it out, because TV is the bread and butter as far as I'm concerned. So TV and the PLEs. So as far as the criticisms, look, I hear them. It's almost impossible not to. I mean, even if I'm just swiping through YouTube, stuff just comes up on the feed. You can't really get around it in a certain sense. So some of them you take and you let them roll off. Some of them you give serious consideration and go, oh, hey, okay, well, maybe I'll consider that. But for the most part, I have to trust myself through this whole thing. That's really what's gotten me through. And hell, I tell you what, maybe to my detriment sometimes, but at this point, as far as I'm concerned, it's gotten me to where I need to be.
October 6th, you're here in St. Louis for SmackDown. What would you say to some fans that are on the fence about coming? But why should they show up to see you on October 6th?
I'll tell you exactly why. It's one thing to watch it on TV, and let's say you've never even watched it on TV. Maybe you happen to catch this show right now, and you're like, well, wait a minute, what's this about? I've known people in my life who've never been to a wrestling show, never been to a WWE show, never had any interest in going, never thought about going. They get there and they're like, this is really fun. I didn't expect it to be like this. There's so much happening. There's so much presentation. I mean, just as far as like the wrestlers, the personalities, the sounds, the feeling in the room. I mean, I always think of JR being like, we wish you could be here to feel this, because it's one thing to watch it on TV, but it's a whole other thing to be there in the building, feeling the vibe. But aside from that, you're looking at a guy right now who is running hot, and everybody's talking about me, and there's a reason for that. Now, what that reason is, I can't put my finger on it. But obviously I'm bringing something different to the table. I see so many times, I've seen this multiple times on my social media, in stories and stuff like that, where people are like, I haven't bought a wrestling shirt in 20 years, and now I'm buying LA Knight shirt.
Right.
So something is speaking to those people, whatever that is. So I would implore anybody who's on the fence, anybody who's thinking about it, find yourself there, find yourself at SmackDown, because you're going to find yourself having a good time.
All right, LA Knight, thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you on October 6th, man.
We will see you then.
All right, take care.
Later.